to you. This is Mr. Moses Sekalo, who is going to be handling a different course or a different unit. And this time around, we are going to be looking at what we call elements of physical geography, or what we call the fundamentals of physical geography. Specifically here is a discipline that is going to be looking at the entire physical landscape. In other words, the earth, how it came into existence. We look at the different parts or things that the earth entails with. I think we shall be moving on and we look at different things concerning the earth. So when you look at even the notes, they clearly show how the earth is trying to look like. So we are going to be looking at the parts that tend to be inside the earth and those ones that tend to be existing above the earth. In other words, in the long run, we are going to be looking at the internal structure of the earth. Then we also talk about the external structure of the earth. So that is our major purpose of this paper. But we are going to be seeing more things entailed within this paper, where we shall be talking about two different things concerning our coverage. As you are moving on, we are trying to see the notes as displayed to you there. When you look at the content here below, it shows how things tend to be running concerning the content. So the first block, we shall be looking at the fundamental concepts of lithosphere. Then we handle the nature, then scope or the scope of the physical geography. We also move on and look at the origin of the earth and the earth's interior. We move and talk about other things below there, where we'll be looking at weathering, look at volcanism, very many things that we are going to be talking about. Then we look at block 2, where we shall be talking about the atmosphere. Then we look at what we call the hydrosphere, and also push up to biosphere. So when you look at the biosphere there, it mainly deals with what we call the plant geography, that is termed to be the biosphere. So we shall have to look at it. Then I talked about the hydrosphere. We look at the ocean bottoms in there. Then look at the surface configuration. We talk about the oceanic temperatures. I talk about salinity. We also move ahead and look at what we call the saturation in the ocean's waters, and also the ocean currents. Talk about the tides and also the ocean deposits in terms of the marine deposits. There may be debris, rocks, or sand and rock boulders. So those are some of the things that we shall be looking at. I think we shall be looking at only 4 blocks. But our major emphasis today is going to be at block 1, where we are going to be talking about the fundamental concept of lithosphere. When you look at the coverage there, they're saying that we shall be starting with what we call the objective, then talk about the introduction of geography as a discipline dependent of the physical geography. Then we move on and look at what we call all the meanings and the definitions of physical geography according to different scholars. What did they say concerning different aspects in terms of geography as a discipline? When we move on, we are going to be seeing the nature and the scope of physical geography. We are going to be seeing how the earth came into existence and look at the internal structure, and also talk about the external structure of the earth. Also, when we push on, we shall be able to look at the trends in physical geography. How has the environment tried to shift from its existence before to what we call the current? So that means that we shall be talking about more of the national processes and also the endogenic processes that happen within the earth's interior or the earth's crust. Therefore, when we continue, we shall be talking about the trends there, as I've told you. Then look at the scopes. Below there, they are saying that we shall be making the conclusions, the summaries. Then talk about the graphery. Then also move to what we call the checks, the checking progress. We also look at what we call the reference concerning our coverage. Then when we start with the objective there, we may deal with what we are aiming at the end to achieve. They are saying that understanding the definition of geography, depending on the different scholars or people who initiated those given words, depending to their research and innovations. When we proceed, those are mainly the intended objectives that we have to achieve by the end of this chapter or by the end of this discipline, as known as the elements of physical geography or the fundamental concept of physical geography. Below there, they are saying that learners are learning the scope of geography as a scientific discipline, as geography meaning being a scientific subject. What does it entail or what does it have? So that is also another thing that you shall be encountering as we study. When we start with the introduction there, they are saying that the major aim of this chapter is to introduce the students to a new perspective of the world of the physical geography. So they are saying that amongst the oldest scholars, or amongst the oldest earth science, and much of the geography work is specific or is accurately made by different scholars. So different scholars came up with different definitions, but all these people we are using the ideas of the word geography as a subject. So when we talk about geo, or when we talk about geography, so geography is divided in two words. We have what we call geo, and also we have what we call geography. When you look at geo, it means the study of the earth. In other words, it means the earth. When you look at graphy, for it means describing. In other words, describe. That is what we call geography in simple terms. So some people, based on those aspects or in those two words, in order to come up with different definitions concerning geography as a discipline. In their research and major emphasis that they were carrying out research, that means that they had to use the idea of geography, but mainly looking at the physical geographical phenomena, and also what you call interaction between the human aspect. In other words, they are looking at the physical phenomena vis-a-vis the interaction or the physical interaction between the two things. So when we push on, we are saying that we have there a table which shows the physical geography. They are saying that when we shall be looking at the physical geography, we shall be able to know geomorphology. We look at the geomorphological processes that tend to be happening within the specific places, for instance, oceans and lakes. That will be looking at what we call geomorphology, and also we shall be able to look at what we call climatology. In other words, we shall be looking at climate variations depending on how climate is seen. Then the other thing they are talking about, oceanic geography. With the oceanic geography, we are going to be seeing the aspect of lakes and oceans, what happens usually on oceans in terms of geography. Then when we push on, we are seeing what we call the biogeography. The biogeography here, we are going to be coming in to see the aspect of the plant geography, and also look at what we call the animal geography. When they talk about animal geography, they are referring to biography, where we shall be looking at in full details. So below there, they're saying that when you look at geography, it has mainly two branches. It has what we call the physical geography, and also it has that aspect of human geography. When you look at the physical geography, as I've told that it's one of the most important branch of geography, as it forms a basis of all geographical studies. That is a discipline that mainly will be looking at only the physical aspect, how natural forms came into existence, and how